friends, welcome to part 2 of TV shows that I enjoy. Now, I will always say the disclaimer that in TV today, there's always going to be some kind of content that you don't agree with, that you wish wasn't in there, that you feel ruins the show. So most of these shows will have content issues. There's not much more I can say about that. You just have to use your discretion. So let's start with The Finder. The Finder is such a good show. I have no idea why the network canceled it after one season. It's such a travesty. It's awful. I can't even believe it. It makes me mad. But The Finder is so good. I really, really like this show. Regardless of it only having one season and it kind of ending in a way that you want more, I have watched it numerous times, 3 or 4 times at least. So The Finder is this guy who, so he went to war, and I don't know if they just didn't explain it quite well enough, or if they were going to get to it later on in different seasons or what, but it almost seems like, I don't know if it's a form of PTSD or like an OCD compulsion or something. It's very not fleshed out in this first season what exactly this is, but our main character has this obsession with finding things. So he kind of has his own freelance company where you can hire him to find something that you lost. So where this gets really interesting is, like, you would go to him, well, his manager, and you would want to hire him, and he would either take your case or not. And if he took your case, that means that because of his, I don't know, obsessive compulsiveness, I don't know if it's that or what, but he will not give up. Like, he would probably die trying to find this thing. If he has told you he will find it, he will find it. So this is a lighthearted show. So they do deal with some difficult things sometimes. Yeah, there are some difficult things in the show. But there is also a very, very lighthearted comedic aspect to the show. So it's very balanced that way. So yeah, you just follow every episode. He's tasked to find something. And it could be like one case is a young boy who comes to him saying that his father was supposed to fly home from war, and they say that he didn't make it, but he's pretty sure that he's alive, and so he wants, oh, his name is Walter. He wants Walter to find his father. Or somebody has lost, I think there's maybe one about a jewel or something. I don't know. You can lose anything or anyone, and he may help you find it. So that's really fun. Moving along, the next one is WandaVision. Now, if you are sensitive to magic, probably don't watch WandaVision. WandaVision is from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you are familiar at all with any of the Marvel movies, Wanda is Scarlet Witch. So I can't really give anything away because setting up the story has to do with some of the movies. So you kind of have to watch some of the movies in order to watch the show, in order to like really get anything out of it. But what I will say is it was so clever. Whoever, I don't remember who produced it or thought of this idea or whatever, but they are brilliant because every episode is like filmed and created in a way that's like a show from the past. So like, I can't remember which shows exactly, but like, is there a Happy Days type of show or like a Full House type of show? I can't remember all of the shows that they kind of showcased, but it's so creative, and it was I don't know, I just really, really liked it. And um, I'm trying to explain it without giving spoilers away, but it's really hard to do when it was something that you had to like watch movies in advance. But what I will say is the Scarlet Witch aspect, the witch aspect, there is a point in the series, I think it's like maybe the last episode or last two episodes, I can't really remember, but it does get fairly witchy toward the end. And so it did make me uncomfortable, and I'm glad that there was no more seasons after that, because there would have been no way to continue without going further down that path. So up until the witchy part really, really starts, it was so good, like really good. So there you go. You can decide for yourself if it's something you would try. Another show that I want to talk about is Zoo. So Zoo is very science fiction heavy. So Zoo is, life has come to a point where animals have started to turn against humanity. And it's happening with all kinds of animals. It can be like predator animals, or it can be prey animals. It can be anything. It can be big animals, it can be small animals, it can be insects, it can be anything. So in this show, we are following a main guy who has like a core group of people that are with him. And that core group of people is, I think it takes maybe 2 episodes to build that group. But anyway, it's just very interesting because our main character, he has kind of known that this was coming, but nobody, of course, would believe him or his father. And they both kind of saw it coming. And anyway, so yeah, it's like, can you just imagine if all the animals in the world started turning against humanity? Like, what would that look like? Like, it is chaos. It is absolute chaos. So, and animals are willing to, like, kill themselves in order to bring down humanity. So, like, birds will fly into jet propellers in flocks in order to bring down a plane. So they're gonna die, but it's worth it to bring down the plane. So it's super, super interesting. I believe it's got a couple seasons. I can't remember how many seasons, but it does get, I feel like with shows that start off weird, really go off the rails, because it's almost like the writers don't know where to go with this weird idea. So they start with the weird idea and then they're like, well, now we have to get weirder. So it definitely gets weirder and more unrealistic, if you can imagine, the farther it goes, but super entertaining. And if you love animals, I mean, I wouldn't even say that, because I could totally see somebody who loves animals who would not like this kind of show, to see animals like attack humans, like placid animals. But I loved it, and I love animals. I'm such an animal girl. So yeah, I loved it, and I've watched it 2 or 3 times already. And again, there is content. I don't know what else to say. Another show I want to talk to you guys about is Dark Matter, and I almost think Dark Matter is Canadian. If not Canadian, then there are quite a few Canadian actors in it. I don't really know. Anyway, Dark Matter is science fiction in a universe where there are other planets, there are other species of beings. Everything is like way high tech. People like zoom through space in their own little spaceships, whatever. And we basically follow this group. I believe there's 9 of them. So the show opens up with, we're on this spaceship and it looks absolutely empty, but it's floating through space. So something's going on. Somebody's manning the ship, even if it is just AI. Like, something's going on. And then the camera pans over to these pods, and we see that there are people in these pods. I think there's 9. I'm trying to remember how many characters. 5? 6. 6. I think there's only 6. Anyway, and slowly but surely, each of the pods opens up, and the person comes out, and they're absolutely disoriented. They don't know who they are. They don't know why they're here. And then as they all start waking up and coming out of their pods, they don't recognize each other. So their names are the number in which they woke up from the pods. So like there's a character called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there's only 6. And so yeah, they're kind of forced to trust each other because they don't have any other basis from which to make decisions and choices and any kind of assessment of anything around them. So, and they're a very, very diverse group of people, very different, like not a group that you would naturally see together, I don't think. So, very interesting. I have watched this show twice over, I believe, and I would totally watch it again. I really like this show, so if you like science fiction and you like spacey things, you probably like this show. Another show I want to talk to you guys about is Lost. So Lost was a big deal when it was airing. My husband and I only watched it a few years ago, so we watched it long after it was airing. We did not watch it during the height of its popularity. So we watched Lost and instantly we're hooked. It's got a very good hook for you to get sucked in. So this airplane crashes on this island, and a good chunk of the people survive, and now they have to like survive on this island where there's no inhabitants, there's nothing. It's a really small island. They just have to find things to feed themselves and clothe themselves and shelter themselves, and they're with a whole schwack of strangers. Most of them are strangers. And so right off the bat, you're super interested in watching these characters get to know each other and figure out a new social system, because like nobody is coming to save them. Like, and they at first think people are coming to save them, but it doesn't happen. And so yeah, it was really, really interesting. Not comedic. It is more serious, and I will say things do get a little bit weird as the seasons progress, like more unrealistic and more science fiction-y, and like, what? This is kind of lame. Like certain aspects feel kind of, this is kind of ridiculous. But overall, I really like this show. However, basically that last episode literally ruins the entire season. No, series. So I don't know how many seasons there are. I would guess like 6 seasons maybe. I don't know. But the last episode, you guys, ruins the entire thing. Makes me so mad. Like, it almost feels like a waste to watch it after that last. I don't know, guys. It does make you feel like, what? Really? All of this for that ending? No. It was awful. It was so awful, you guys. But the whole series was quite good. It was one of those shows that definitely started off really, really strong and got weaker as it went on, but still a fun ride. The next show that I want to talk about is Series of Unfortunate Events. I've never read the books, so I cannot say anything to that. I did watch the movie, but didn't like it nearly as much as the TV show. So, this show, if you don't know anything about A Series of Unfortunate Events book series, it follows these 3 kids who are orphaned. It's a little bit historical. I don't know when, like, is it like 40s or something? I don't know. But anyway, so these 3 kids who are orphaned, they get shipped off to the closest relative that they have, apparently, their Uncle Olaf. Through a series of unfortunate events, these kids get moved around in every episode, basically. They're in a different place. Nobody is out to watch over them. Nobody cares where they end up. Nobody is looking out for them. It just seems so disheartening to see these children just floating around. And there is like a fantastical element, I would say, as well to this show. It isn't like outright magical, but there is some very unrealistic situations, that happen. Almost like magical, but not. So like fantasy, non-magical fantasy, if that's a thing. Anyway, and we just follow these three siblings survive each unfortunate situation that they end up in, each unfortunate home that they end up in with like ridiculous caregivers that are awful. And yeah, and with a premise like that, you would think like, what a sad show, like why would I want to watch that? And yet it's so entertaining. Like I don't know, it's very interesting. It's a very weird thing to describe. But I will say one of the elements of this show, and the books, I assume, that is really, really cool is that it's narrated by Lemony Snicket. It's narrated by Lemony Snicket, and his delivery on his lines, just the expression or lack of expression is so entertaining. All of the antics that the characters play, there is like a big comedic element to this show. It's a good show. You guys should watch it. Like, I watched it the first time on my own, and then I was like, to my husband, I was like, "Hun, you have to watch this with me because it's really good," and he liked it. So, I would recommend that show for sure. Another show I want to talk to you guys about is a reality show. I know, right? Project Runway. I love Project Runway. If you are at all inspired by fashion or the way fashion is made, sewing garments, putting different styles together, or figuring out what works on different body shapes or ages or anything like that, if any part of the fashion industry is interesting to you, check out Project Runway. I don't know if they are still making the seasons. I feel like no, but there are many, 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 many seasons that you can go back and watch. They're so, so good, and it is a competition, so they do have 16 designers to start, and then they have a challenge, and then the designers create something. They have a runway at the end with that garment, and then the judges eliminate one person every episode. And yeah, it's very, very good if you like that kind of thing. If you're interested at all in that kind of thing, it's so inspiring for me. Like, every time I watch that show, I'm like, I want to sew everything. I need to sew my entire wardrobe, which is unrealistic for me at this point. But it's very inspiring, and I love watching that. Now, the last one that I want to talk to you guys about is a BBC show. I love British television so much. I don't know why, but it's something about the way that they film it, the way that they light their scenes, the way that they select their cast. I think the way that they tell stories. I just think British television is just... So anyway, Sherlock Holmes, you guys. Sherlock Holmes. Now, I have tried to read Sherlock Holmes, and I've DNF'd it, so that means did not finish. So I'm not a true Sherlock Holmes fan, I would not say. However, this show is so good. Again, there's content in here. It's not the greatest. It's unfortunate, but overall, this show is so good. So Sherlock Holmes, I'm sure you know about Sherlock Holmes, but in this show, it does a really good job of having him notice these really minuscule things, these details that nobody else would pick up on, and he interprets it really, I guess accurately, really interestingly. Like, he can glean a lot of information from one little detail. It's super fascinating. And then, of course, he has Watson and his landlady and all of these weird cases that come his way that he has to try and solve. and it's just a good time. The villain that really only is quite present a little bit later on, he's so good. He's like one of the best villains ever. And I just think it's a great series. I've watched it numerous times. I will watch it again. It's really, really good. I would say it's more serious than anything. I mean, they do have some comedic bits in it, but it's really not considered comedy. It is more of like a serious one, but super, super interesting. I really, really like it. So that is 8 TV shows that I really like. This is part 2. You can check the cards or the description below or the end screen for part 1. And I will be making more parts to this because I have many shows to go through. So stay tuned for that. Let me know if you've watched any of these shows, and if you're getting a feeling for the kinds of shows that I like, and you haven't heard one mentioned, let me know in the comments if you have any recommendations. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!